Appreciate y'all being here. All right, so I know you're gonna have a lot of questions. Let me just get that started. Thank y'all. Look, I failed. I'm not gonna sit up here and make excuses. Failed a lot of people. Highly disappointed, about where we're at, how the season went. I never take lightly what's at stake here. And it's not, the wins and losses, but, people's lives are on the line. Players' families, coaches' families, front office, people in this building, and I don't ever take that lightly. And, I'm disappointed. Disappointed where we're at, and ultimately, it falls on my shoulders. I won't walk away from that. I won't run from it. Saying that, we'll grow from it, and I'll grow from it, and I'll get better because of it. Unfortunately, our greatest moments of growth and greatest times of growth happen in the darkness. And you just got to keep your eyes open and see the light. I had some rough moments, this season, thinking about, where we're at and how we got where we're at, the mistakes I had made. And there's only one way you got to go through it. You can't avoid it, can't go over it, can't go on. You got to go through it. It's the only way you're going to grow. And I believe in our people. I believe in our processes. We have really smart, good people in this building. And I believe going forward we'll prove that. I know there's doubt. There should be. Absolutely there should be. The criticism, it's warranted. Criticism, regarding my job and what I've done, it's warranted. But I've not lost any confidence in what we can build here. We live in a world where failure is not allowed. It's not allowed. You fail in this world, and we're doing it at the biggest stage. When you fail in this world, you get canceled. And everybody wants your head, and rightfully so in some cases. But if you're able to go through it and grow from it, you can reach your greatest heights, and I think we will. All the things written and said, and say most of it's warranted, we didn't perform well enough. And it falls on me. All right, fire away.
Chris, you put this team together. In your own words, it was a failure. How did it get this bad? You talked about the mistakes. What were those mistakes?
Well, look, looking back, on it, when you're changing quarterbacks every year, it's tough. It's tough on everybody. It's tough on, the team. And, not getting that position settled, has a little something to do with it. And that's no indictment on any of the quarterbacks we have. Let me talk about Matt Ryan. It's not an indictment on Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan is as professional a player that I've ever been around. And I still think he's got, something left to, in his body to play. Smart, knows how to play the game. Looking back early in the season, we had some changes to the offensive line, and that's where our struggles occurred early. And, we just never really recovered from them. And it took us some while to get some continuity. I probably underestimated that. I thought we've been so good up front, for the last few years. I thought with, the three really good players we had coming back in Braden, Ryan Kelly, and Quentin, that we would absorb those other positions and they would come up to speed right away, and it just didn't occur that way. And, that's a mistake. Now, I will say mid-season, I did think the line played better. I thought they played better down the stretch. I know they've taken a lot of criticism, but down the stretch, that wasn't the reason we were losing. The one thing it's a fickle game, and I know people say it all the time, but more games are lost than won. we lost them. Like, you cannot be minus 13 in the turnover ratio and win. You can't do it. You can't be 32nd in the league in the red zone and win. And I think on defense, we either finished 30th or 31st in the red zone. Like, those are key areas of the game that you have to perform to be able to win. There's a way to win every game. I've said this every year with whoever you have. I mean, the talent level in this league between teams, sure, there's going to be a few that have low, but it's not, I mean, it's not here and here. It's usually here and here. And I think you even look at the playoffs of teams that rebounded from a year ago that everybody said stunk, and now they're in the playoffs. But those teams that got in, they didn't lose the game. Like, they didn't lose the game, and we lost the game. You can't turn the ball over. You have to execute in the red zone when you get those opportunities, and we didn't.
Your physics say something though that is true, but good teams they don't do that.
That's right.
Your team consistently never
That's
did
right.
that, and
That's
did
right.
commit those turnovers. What does that say about your team, and what do you think the talent level of this team is right now? Have you had to reevaluate that?
Well, I mean, look, we're starting that process. I mean, obviously, we're not good enough. I mean, you finished 4-12-1. I'm not going to sit up here and act like, oh, you know what? We had a Super Bowl roster and it's everybody. No, we're not. At the end of the day, we're not good enough. And we got to figure out the areas we're not good enough. Do I think we're complete? Our talent is not like when I walked in here in 17, I thought we had some talent issues that we had to correct. I do think there's some building pieces here. They got to play better. You know, our best players got to play to their standard, but I don't think we're void of talent. We need to add more talent, and there's areas that we need to get better at, but I don't think we're complete void of talent.
Chris, is your level of input control varied since you got here? Have you called the same level of shots since you got here? Because it seems like you're not.
I know where you're getting at. I'm going to say this about Mr. Irsay. I love working for him. He's a good man. He's a good owner. And he has a lot of experience in this league. And we talk about everything. And look, we don't always agree. Like, if we're agreeing all the time, I'm not doing my job. If I'm sitting here just, you know, I mean, and I think y'all have been around me long enough to know that, like, it just comes out. Like, sometimes even when I don't want it to, it just comes out. Like, I'm going to be honest and tell you what I think, and I'm very honest with him about what I think, and he's very honest and direct with me. And at the end of the day, there's some decisions that I'll make, and you say, good, you know, okay, Chris, I don't completely agree with that, but let's move forward. And there's some decisions that he'll make that I'll say, look, I don't completely agree with that, but we'll move forward. But when we make one, we make it, and we make it together, and we move forward. Mr. Irsay lets me do my job.
Chris, from all that you said, and you know how the league is, it's a win league. It's a bottom line league.
Yeah.
Are you surprised you're sitting here?
I don't ever worry about that, chap. Like, I come to work, I give you everything I got. I mean, everything I got. Like, I don't shortchange anything. And I don't worry about getting let go and fired. I do the best I can. And even the best laid plans sometimes, even the best thought out plans, they don't work sometimes. I mean, they don't. And it didn't work last year. And so I'm not going to sit up here and make excuses for that. And I'm not going to make excuses for having a job. I've got to do my job better.
How do you evaluate Jeff Saturday, 8 games in, and is he a candidate for this job full time?
He is going to be a candidate, okay? Tough. And I told Mr. Irsay this. I mean, when he made the decision and we talked through Jeff, I voiced my concerns, which were, look, this is unprecedented. And we're putting him into a really tough situation here, taking a team over mid-season. It's going to be tough, and I wanted to make sure he understood that. And I had the same talk with Jeff. But, look, here's what I know about Jeff being around him. He is smart. He is a good teammate, and he is a leader. Like, those things are real. And now we need to find out, because we didn't get into, like, you can't change. Like, you can't do wholesale changes like when you come in week 8. You know, that stuff starts in April. You know, your vision and everything you want to do, that starts in April, and that's built over time and over years. And so it'll be interesting to hear. He'll go through the process just like everybody else. Be interesting to hear his vision, how he wants to build it. I mean, he'll go through the whole interview process.
You said results, no division titles in 6 years. Do you feel like the roster construction, the roster blueprint, how you wanted to build it is the right way in today's NFL?
That's good. That's good, Kev. I mean, I got to grow. Like, I'm very stubborn and dogmatic sometimes. I do believe you have to be great up front. Like, I'll never, like, that's in my, that'll be on my grave. Like, you got to be good up front. And we weren't good enough this year. We showed signs, and I do think there's potential going forward, but at the end of the day, we weren't good enough, and that's on me. But in terms of how we build the rest of the roster, that's an area that we'll examine hard, and move forward and grow.
You said when you guys had the press conference to introduce Jeff that you felt like this team, everyone was going to throw in the towel and you guys could still make a run. Jeff's comments yesterday sort of said that he didn't think that you guys had a chance to do anything this year. Do you agree with what he said there?
I don't ever go into at that time we were 3-5-1. So you're talking to, I mean, I've been a part of teams that been 1-5 and made the playoffs. Been a time, last year we were 1-4 and we're 9-6. So I ain't, like, I'm not throwing in a towel mid-season. And you know, then we go and we beat the Raiders in his first game. So you think, okay, we got a shot here to maybe, you know, rebound this thing, and then it just got spinning out of control. So I don't ever, my mindset is never in going into a game where, like, we don't have a shot. I don't have, even at any point, my mind doesn't work that way.
Will Jim Harbaugh be a candidate for this job, and who will make the final decision up to the next coaches?
Good question. I won't get into who the candidates are. I know there's names out there, but we're not going to talk about that. I'll lead the search. Look, ultimately, Mr. Irsay makes the final call. And I don't care what there's 32 teams, 32 owners. They own the team, you know, and we give them, you know, here's our thoughts. And Mr. Irsay is a good listener. And ultimately, he'll make the final call, but he will lean heavily on our work and what we do to get the coaching candidates in place.
Do you think some of his decisions over the last 12 months have hurt this franchise?
No, Mr. Irsay does. You know, we've had some long talks. Had a long talk Sunday. No, I don't. He's been in this a long time, and he's got a good feel for this. And you know, every decision that has been made, we have talked through. And I don't think it hurt us. No, look. Ultimately, it falls on my shoulders.
Chris, a very specific approach to quarterback the last few years, right? The veterans, we understand why.
Yeah.
In retrospect, looking back, hindsight, all that, do you feel like there were any missed opportunities to address that position more permanently?
You know, we post-mortem everything. Yeah, and I've examined and I've looked at that. You know, you got a good team, all right? We thought we had a good football team. And, you know, when you're making, and this is hindsight's 20/20. It's easy to look back and criticize what you've done in the past. And I think you know me, like nobody's harder. Like, y'all write stuff, but it's not, like I've fired myself 50 times this year. So I sit in that press box and just agonize. And it's looking back, you know, we kept thinking, okay, we'll add a vet quarterback, would give us a chance to really get over the hump, you know, and looking at missed opportunities. You know, we thought with Carson we were getting a young enough player that we could have a guy that could be here for the long term for at least a 5, 6, 7 year run, and we weren't right on that decision. And then giving up the assets at the time probably cost us from being able to get one in 21, which I don't really, looking back, I don't really know if we'd have had an opportunity in the draft, but, and then not having a first round pick this last year restricted that. So I've thought a lot about that, and what direction we would go. Look, at the end of the day, we made the decisions we did. We had a process to make them, and we're at where we're at. So,
with regard to the head coaching search, how important will be the ability to put a structure around a young quarterback? How important will that be in your process?
I think the ability to win. All right, so we know there's the elite of the elite. We know that, like, when you walk out on game day, when you got one of the elite, the field, I mean, all of a sudden, it just feels different. But you got to be able to win with average to above average quarterback play. You got to be able to find a way to win. So it's going to be very important. Whether it's an offensive coach, defensive coach, special team coach, the ability to build a plan around how we're going to win, what our identity is going to be, and how we're going to win with who's playing quarterback is important. Because I think there is a way to win every game. I think you just look across the league right now, and teams with, that might not be getting great, they're not getting superstar quarterback play, but getting solid quarterback play are finding ways to win.
Are you going to be as surprised as we are if you don't pick a quarterback in the first round? We're going to be surprised. You know that. Are you going to be surprised if you don't?
Boy, you got the loaded questions. You've got them fired up today. No, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's the fourth pick of the draft. We aren't. I mean, excuse my language, but we earned that. I don't like earning it, but we did. I've said this before, and I think history proves me right. I can take one. We can take one as an organization, and y'all are going to celebrate it and say, we have got the savior for the Colts. And then if he doesn't play well, why'd you take that guy? You got to be right. We got to be right. We understand the magnitude of where we're at in the draft, and we understand the importance of the position.
What attributes will
To get one that actually you can win with and to be right is the most important thing. Not if we take one or not, but being right.
You've been through this coaching search before, actually twice. First one left you at the altar, then you got Frank. What matters right now, criteria-wise, for the next head coach?
So I'm gonna tell you what I learned. One, don't start with an end in mind. Okay, it's big. A lot of times what happens is you get a vision of what you want before you've made your mind up, and then you might ignore somebody that's really freaking good right in front of your face. So we've got a very detailed process put together on the traits and attributes we're looking for in the head coach. Don't care which side of the ball. And then to be patient and take your time and make sure we have a thorough interview with everybody. Consistent, thorough. I don't care if it takes till mid-February to hire the head coach. It's about getting it right.
Chris, I know point differential has been a thing that you've always kind of alluded to, is how your team played in a season, worst in the league. What does that say about personnel-wise?
Well, it says we weren't very good. I mean, I think we were minus 138. Fourth quarter, I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen anything like what happened in Dallas, where, it's 21-19 going into fourth quarter, and we just, they score the touchdown, then we have the fumble, and then it was just a complete meltdown. Look, we got to get better. I'm not going to sit up here and make excuses. We got to get better. I got to do a better job. I got to get more talent on this football team, got to improve it. Our best players have to play to their capability, and the young players have to play to their capability that we thought. I don't think the cupboard is dry. I do think we have some good young players, and I think we got some players in their prime that can play better. But at the end of the day, we're 4-12-1. Not good enough.
Feel the effort was there all year long.
What's that?
Feel the effort was the same all year long.
Yeah, that we got a good group. Like, they work. I didn't ever feel like, they weren't competing. Our competitive confidence, it's somewhere along the way, and I don't know where, but our competitive confidence, we lost. Like, when it got hard in the game, those are the times we would melt down. For whatever reason. I don't, like, I'd sit here and I wish I could have a complete answer for you, but I don't. That's something we have to work through as we go through this off season. But, golly, man, it's ultimately it's where we're at. Doesn't mean that's where we're going to stay, but it's where we're at right now. And look, you got to look at it. Like, I'm not sitting up here with rose-colored glasses acting. I'm not going to put our heads in the sand and act like everything's okay. It's not. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, well, we don't need to make. No, there's going to be changes. And there's going to be, changes on the roster. When you're at this level, there's going to be change. Everybody knows that. Players know it. I know it.
Given what you said about it has to be the right guy, if there's a quarterback in this draft that you think is that guy, would you move heaven and earth to get him? Would you go up to number one?
Yes, I'd do whatever it takes. If we thought there's a player that we're driven to get that makes the franchise and the team better, that's what we would do.
Along the same lines, you have kind of, I think the fans have a depiction of you where you're conservative. Like,
Yeah.
You do trade back a lot, and I can understand why. Whether it's draft, free agency, trades, whatever, do you feel like there's a need to maybe go for it a little more like we have been seeing around the league? Whatever shape that takes.
I think it always, like, I don't know. We did trade for Buckner. We did trade for Carson. Didn't mean we were right on the trade, but we traded for him. We did trade for Matt Ryan. It's not like we haven't done anything. Like, we've just sat on our heels and we're just going to draft every player. And no, we've made some aggressive moves. Now, they weren't always free agent moves, but Buckner, I would say Buckner was a good trade, unequivocally. I would take 53 DeForest Buckners. Him and Grover Stewart, my Lord. These two guys just showed up each and every week and competed their asses off. Never bitched, never complained. You would never know what the record is watching practice and watching games, watching these two dudes play. They played the way the game's supposed to be played. And we have other guys that did that too. But when our times to be aggressive, we'll be aggressive when we need to be.
Over the last 12 months, there's been a lot. Has your desire to be here wavered at all, and why or why not?
No. I don't. Like, we don't have a transfer portal. We don't have that, and I don't want it. Like, I've never backed out of anything in my life. I won't back out of this, and we'll get it right. People are scared to struggle. I'm not gonna sit here and say I like it, but I'm not afraid of it. I'm not afraid of the struggle. I'm not afraid of the hardness of what we do. Matter of fact, I kind of get off on it. And to answer your question, no. No other place I want to be but Indy. I want to make it right for Indy.
Chris, you built a team around an offensive line, a lot of draft picks and money, and you talked in the past about that, how that sends a message of what your team's going to be. Just curious, what did you think about that moment in New York? Kayvon Thibodeau doing Snow Angels, and some other guys were upset that offensive linemen didn't step up in that moment. How did you interpret that?
I do believe, and I'll never lose this, your offensive line's demeanor, attitude, aggressiveness is contagious to the rest of the team. At the end of the day, even though I thought they played better, they're not playing to the standard that they have set. As for that play, look, I'm not. I think it's hard. I expect our players, and I think our players do. I think them to defend for each other. You know, you protect your own, you protect your team.
Where does this team
Go
go
ahead.
in the direction of the team? And talk of possibly drafting a quarterback. Have you talked to Matt Ryan about his future, and do you expect him to be back here next season?
Yeah, we'll work through that. I had a good talk with Matt yesterday. We'll work through that. Right now, it's about the head coach. You know, our staff's evaluating our roster. We'll work through that. But right now, the priority of the organization is to get the right head football coach.
Would you look at teams like Kansas City, Buffalo, big trades to go up and get their respective QBs? What do you think? Obviously, you haven't drafted the top 10 necessarily on a routine basis, but what has held you back from making that sort of move for the franchise?
Yeah. So, well, I mean, at one point we had Andrew Luck. Okay. You know, all right. So then, you know, you go to 19, and then we go to the 19 season, get done with that one, and we decide to go with Phillip Rivers at the time. That was an area that when we had the 13th pick and we ended up trading for Buckner, that we did have serious talk about it at the time. But at that point we said, you know, we got a bird in hand here. We're getting a 3 technique that's a really special player and fits our character profile, what we want. And then in 21, we signed Carson, you know. So the opportunity to do it probably was in 20, you know, and we made the decision with Buckner, and I don't regret that decision.
There's 2 things. One, from what you see with the offensive line, is Bernhard, do you think he is the guy or can be the guy or what?
Yeah, that's good. Yes, I do. Encouraged by him, very encouraged. Early was rough, as it is for most left tackles. I mean, we want them to be Jonathan Ogden the second they walk in the league, or Costanzo the second. I mean, we forget Anthony had his struggles early. Most left tackles do have their struggles early. But to his credit, I'll never forget leaving New England. And, you know, Bernard is passionate and cares and wants to do the right thing. He's got tears in his eyes walking to the bus. And I remember telling him, I said, look, I said, you're going to have days like this in this league. And I said, but your mental toughness and ability to reset is important. And I said, and for you to make it, you have to do that. And to the kid's credit, he battled his ass off. He got better each week. I'm sure he's got some things he's got to work on. He's got to get a little bit bigger and a little bit stronger. But we thought he performed at a winning level the last 7-8 weeks of the season. I know there was a couple plays and some mistakes out there. They all do. I mean, look across the league. I mean, players make mistakes. They're not perfect.
Also, talking to JT yesterday, is surgery a possibility, or do you know?
I think over the next 2 weeks we'll know more.
Was this more than a high ankle?
It was a pretty good high ankle sprain, and you know, we'll find out more here in the next couple of weeks. It doesn't. I'm not going to sit here and say yes or no, but it looks positive.
Positive that you won't need surgery.
Yeah. So, but we'll work through that.
The interim front, when you hired Jeff on the interim front, did you think you guys should have promoted someone on staff?
It never really got to that point. You know, the discussion was Jeff, and when we decided to go that way, that's where we were going.
As big of a roller coaster it's been for you guys, what about the fans here in Indianapolis to have to go through what they've gone through this year?
No, it sucks. It sucks, and I love them. They're great. I don't like even when they're pissed and they boo and the criticism and like that means they care. It means they're invested. They care. Like I would rather have that than apathetic people that didn't care. Like I handle that well. I'm still going to show up, and I'm still going to show up in public. And when they make a comment to me, it's okay. I handle it well. I get emails, calls. You have no idea. And I do everything I can to return all of them. And they deserve that. Our fans deserve better. They deserve better. And I'm thankful for them. I'm thankful for their passion. I'd rather them be passionate than apathetic. and I want to do good for him, and I'm sorry I let him down.
The perception from the outside is that Jeff has a leg up or 2 legs up on the rest of the coaching field search. What's your answer to that?
It'll be his leg up is that he knows the internal workings, and he's been able to see the inside of what he wants to fix. But we'll have a process that'll be equal for everybody.
JT's up next year. Is it the right move to pay running back top dollar?
When they're great players, it is. Yeah, when they're a special playmaker, it is. I'm not going to get into what we're going to do contract-wise with him, but when you're a special player and a special playmaker, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Dovetailing off of that, Michael Pittman's also up.
Yep.
How hard was it this year to see his development or lack thereof when you've not got a vertical passing game?
Yeah, that's a good question. Pitt's a good guy. Pitt's a good player.
Is he a one?
I don't know. I mean, we've all had this talk before. Like, what's a one? Is there? What's a real one? I mean, a guy that, that every time he touches the ball, you're scared to death. That he's going to go score. So there are very few of those. Is he a really good freaking player? Damn right he is. And he's passionate and he's tough and he competes his ass off and he wears it. And I love that about him. I love that he wears his emotions on his sleeve. I love that he cares deeply about winning. Pittman's a really good football player. And we're lucky to have him on our team.
Was he frustrated this year near the end, maybe? Or?
I think everybody was frustrated. I'd be disappointed if people weren't frustrated. I'd be disappointed if our players weren't frustrated. I mean, I had them streaming through my office yesterday, and damn right they're frustrated. They care, but players need. I mean, they want to win and they want to do things right, and unfortunately, it didn't go that way this year, so they're frustrated.
With Jeff, how much will the record, you mentioned the historical nature to the end of the season, how much will that matter in his evaluation?
No, I mean, I can't. We put him in that's a tough spot, man. I'm not judging him by that. What I will judge, the things I did like were he stayed positive, he kept working, held the team accountable, wasn't afraid to hold players accountable, and when he saw mistakes, to call them out. Sure, he's got things he's got to grow. We all do, but I'm not gonna judge him off that.
To play devil's advocate, though, Frank was fired for his results with mostly the same problems.
Much different though, because he'd been here. Like, he came in mid-season. Like, you're not making major from the outside. It's hard to make major changes in a system when you're coming in week 9. Almost impossible. I mean, it'd be no different if we hired an intern, a coach from internally. It's just, your habits and it starts in April. I mean, in April when OTA start, like your habits start, like all that matters. And, when you're, it's not impossible, but it is hard to fix habits in November. And at that point, we didn't have good habits.
If things were so broken, if the system was so broken and the habits were so bad, like how? Like why?
If I had something we're digging through to figure out, that's something we're digging through. No, it's a fair question. It's a fair question. And
Everything's being blamed on when he got here. But how did it get to that point?
well, ultimately, our plan from a roster standpoint wasn't good enough. Okay, that's one. And then I think all the change, and sometimes, like, here's what we didn't do a very good job of. We didn't manage expectations very well, at all. Like, anytime you go,
It's always an issue.
no, but that's like, we've been so process-oriented, okay? And that's who I am, that's who Frank was, that's who we want to be. We want to be process-oriented. And with a good process, you're going to lead to a good result. Well, every time we keep going and getting these vet quarterbacks, and this falls on me. This is on me. You'll get a vet quarterback. Well, here's the expectation. We're going to Super Bowl. Ah, they got a good roster. They're going to Super Bowl. Well, there was holes in that. And, you know, our job's to fix those holes.
Do you think that because there was so much change at one time, basically with the span of like 3 to 4 weeks, do you think that if some of that change had been dialed back, the results would have been different and people may have stayed locked in a little bit more?
That's speculative. I don't know. I can't, you know, it's hindsight and speculative. I don't know if I could answer that one fairly.
But do you feel like, was that a fair position to put players in, changing the quarterback and the head coach and the offense coordinator in 3 weeks?
They're pros. It's their jobs. Show up and perform.
Chris, any
Chris, what do
early
you think-
thoughts on the 2023 quarterback class?
Oh, God. Kevin. No, zero. I have none. None right now.
Have you, so much has been laid at Frank's feet that this is his fault. Fair enough. If you talk to him, and I assume you have, because you're.
Yeah, and we're still close. I mean, we text too all the time. Frank's a good man. Frank's a good football coach. He's a great teammate, And I think, like myself, I mean, look, I do think Frank will get a chance to be a head coach in this league again. And I think he'll do a great job. And I think he'll learn and grow, you know, as we all do, through hard times.
Maybe just time.
I don't know. I mean, you know, sometimes when it just got rolling in the wrong direction here, it gets hard. And sometimes it's just time.
You open to college candidates in the process?
Yeah.
Head coaching experience matter?
No.
You know, like, it's a bad situation, interim takes over, he doesn't have much of a chance. What about situations where the interim was more successful, like Wilkes in Carolina or Rich last year with the Raiders?
They're better teams. They're better football teams.
All right, James, last one. What can you point to? I know you said that, you know, Jeff Saturday's put in a tough spot, but what can you point to say that he improved during those 8 weeks?
Yeah, that's good. You know, sometimes you don't, behind the scene, you know, you can do things right and you don't see any, from the outside world, you don't look and see, well, you don't see those improvements. But just his daily interaction with the team, learning how to really, like being a head coach is hard. From not only managing a football team and coaching a football team, managing a coaching staff, 69 players, schedule, media, like all the stuff you got to deal with. And just each week I thought he got better, you know, and I know the results didn't show that, but I did think he improved.
All right, thanks, guys.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you.